Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to
Whoa,
1%
whoa,
Better.
whoa, whoa, whoa. That's my job. That's what I do. Hang on, getting out of control here. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to 1% Better, where we take a look at hidden stories in sports. I'm Xylon and I'm back, along with Dr. David Lipman. How are you?
I'm good, mate. More importantly, everyone wants to hear how you are.
I am trying to figure out how to do this. I don't know how to do this anymore. I'm struggling to plug a microphone in, struggling to call up everything that needs to be called up. But feels good to be back, man. Before I say how I am, I want to thank you for the incredible work you've done the last 7 weeks or so, diligently carrying us here, putting in the work. I was listening as a listener, as a fan, which was so weird and interesting to me, and you did a really, really good job. And also thanks to everyone who came on and helped you, man.
Yeah, appreciate that, mate. Actually, ironically, jokes aside, ended up with a lot of back pain in Australia on a recent trip, and like, so maybe that's sympathy, maybe that's empathy, maybe that's carrying you. I don't know what it is, but yeah, no, it was weird doing it without you. It's not fun just putting out audio. I reckon. We only started video late in the piece, but like, yeah, kind of a bit more fun with video. But
Well,
yeah,
I
some
feel
cool
like people
guests.
only tune in for my face in the video, so it's okay.
Sure. Yep. Okay.
But yeah, it feels good to be back. I am 7 weeks post L5S1 spinal fusion. The operation could not have gone better. I really am grateful that I took the process of a year long trying the laminectomy, trying other ways to see if I can subside with the nerve pain out, and then finally landing with the fusion as the final option. The reason I say I'm happy I went through that process because I feel like I found the perfect surgeon at one of the top surgeons, back surgeons in the country, who just gave me the confidence that he can basically give me my life back. And you being a doctor, you coming from a medical field, I think you probably know how important that is, being in sync with your doctor. I think that's a thing, right?
Yeah, I think certainly with respect to surgery, you've got to really believe in the person doing it. I think that's a huge part of it. Now, they don't have to be the best, but you have to certainly resonate with them and believe in them. I think it's a key part of it. Now, obviously, surgery is a skill thing, so you do want a skilled operator, but I think you're better off with a marginally less skilled person who you sort of have a better relationship with or more trust in. So yeah, it's. I mean, I've been fascinated for a long time about like, how do you know he's the best? Oh, because people say so. Okay, great. What does that mean? Who decides? Who rates him? Etc. 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 Right. So like, I've always found how we decide who the best surgeon is to be quite interesting. And there's certainly people with reputations. Like I remember when I was practicing in Brisbane, I'd be like, oh, you should go to that surgeon. He's really good. And I was like, I'd never seen him operate. I had no idea. Like just people told me. So like, okay,
Yeah.
I guess we take it as gospel. So it's quite an interesting thing in and of itself. But certainly, it sounded like you got on with him a lot better and sort of resonated with him a lot more. So I think that's super important.
Yeah, and the more people repeat that someone is a good surgeon, the more true it becomes. Not necessarily the surgery, but the perception thereof. But he's a very experienced and older surgeon. He works in a teaching hospital. He's trained multiple doctors. The way the medical staff spoke about him, I first got referred to him through someone I respect in the medical field. That's how I found him. And yeah, he's done a really, really great job. The nerve pain I've been living with for over a year is totally gone. He said there would be a 97% chance that it is gone. That is gone now. I've started working with the physio. The first thing she said to me is we need to get the confidence of movement back because you need to learn to trust your body again. And once we get that fear down, we can then progress. So she's given me lunges, calf raises, squats to do, glute bridges, which was very scary to do at first, but she said repetition will help, and she's been absolutely right. I'm becoming more and more confident in doing them. All non only body weights, not picking anything up. I'm still not allowed to twist. I'm still not allowed to bend aggressively. Sitting still isn't that comfortable, so I'm limiting sitting to 20-30 minute sessions a day. But great to be out of pain. I'm still walking. I'm walking about 20 kilometers a week. I've been doing that for the last 4 weeks. And now we are adding the extra load. And you gave me advice. You said, even though you are 7 weeks out now, you're going to want to increase the walking, but don't increase it too much because we're already increasing the load now with weights, with a bit of strength training. So don't add too many variables at the same time. But man, what I did was I took 4 weeks off life, basically 4 weeks off work, and just hit reset. And when do you ever get an opportunity like that? Like, obviously, I didn't want this to happen to me. I've been very miserable the last year or so because this nerve pain has taken running away from me. It's taken cycling away from me. It's taken the things I love the most. It's basically pushed pause on it. So I sat with that and I tried to look for the positives out of it. And just those 4 weeks of being off social media, being off work, I was like sitting doing a puzzle every day. I was drawing, I was coloring in, and that's just something I don't spend a lot of time on. And it was just so good for the mind to press reset and try to take the positives out of this situation.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're better than me. I wouldn't have framed it so positively. I would have struggled a lot more. Um, I try and not so much get off social media, although I do minimize it, but I do spend a portion of each year completely, like I leave my laptop at home and go on a holiday. And I do think there's a lot of value in that because, I mean, it's hard for you as well because being the property mogul you are and, having to fund all these things, you end up working many, many jobs and a lot of them are social related. So it's hard to get off that stuff. So, yeah, mate, I can appreciate for you. It must be difficult.
The other positive I've taken out of it, which I've shared with you before, is there is the risk of further fusions then at L4. It's because obviously that disk will be carrying a lot of the load, and already it doesn't have significant degeneration, but there is wear and tear. So the surgeon said to me, the one thing I can't do is pick up any weight, and I basically have to do strength training and work my posture for the rest of my life. And I've taken that as a challenge. I was reading one of the
Sorry,
books I was reading.
when you say pick up weight, you mean put on weight yourself?
Yeah, I can't put on any more weight.
Yeah, because I was like, he said you can't lift anything, and then he's telling you to do strength training. I'm like, I couldn't
No,
make
no, no,
sense of it. And
yeah,
then
no,
yeah,
no, myself. Yeah, I can't. Basically, picking up weight puts more pressure on that L4 disc, and they will have to operate in 5 or 10 years time. Fuse that as well if I do that. So what I've been doing is I read James Clear's Atomic Habits over that time, and I really, really enjoyed it because uh, weight is an interesting subject and it's a touchy subject because very different people have different relationships with food, and it's often connected to emotions and things like that. And I've never been obese, but as a cyclist, if you want to get down to ideal race weight, whatever that is, I have always struggled to lose that last bit of 4 or 5 kgs, which obviously is like the last bit to lose. And basically in the book he was talking about what we do is we set goals for ourselves, and then we rely on motivation to achieve those goals. But motivation doesn't last. And then we give up because we don't see results soon enough. But what we need to do to achieve those goals is to build systems and build an environment. So to give you an example, how I've been trying to build muscle in aiding the recovery from the operation while losing the last bit of visceral fat is literally write down what I'm going to eat for every single day, and have a goal, a caloric goal and a protein goal. I've been going hard on protein for someone my height. I've been going averaging 115 to 130 grams of protein a day, which is very hard to achieve unless you are very intentional about it. So I literally have been writing down my meals and sticking to it as much as possible. I've been doing that for a few weeks now, and I find that building a system like that and having the temptations out of reach, i.e. environment, has really, really helped. And I've lost 800 grams over 2 weeks, which I think is a sustainable way to lose weight while also trying to build muscle back up from the operation.
yeah. I mean, so talking about systems environment, he would say, just get the junk food out of your house, right? So like, don't have any of that in your house. Rather than like setting out every meal, it's like don't have things you don't want to eat in that house. Make a decision ahead of the week. Like these are the things we're not going to buy. We're not going to have it. Not going to have chocolate. Not going to have cereal. Whatever it is, get it out of the house.
I don't
Um,
struggle with those things with bringing it into the house. I do live with someone else who is going to listen to this, and we're going to have an argument after this. And then friends come over and they always feel like they should bring stuff. So 99% of the time, I do not bring those things in the house, because when they're not in the house, to your point, I'm fine. I don't need them. But
Most
obviously,
people are like most people. I certainly heard someone talking a little while ago. I can't remember who it was, saying that like they will they refuse to have stuff in the house because they really struggle with the willpower aspect of it. But they are happy to drive. So anytime like one of their kids or their wife wants something, it's like I will drive and get it for you, but we are not having it in the house.
yeah,
And
that's
that
my
like that
approach. Yeah.
barrier is significant and enough usually for people.
Yeah. And it's not about restrictions. I found it's not about restrictions because restrictions also doesn't work for me. I had cake on Saturday and a Sunday at another function at someone's house, but I build it into the program. It then, if I'm having cake that day, it affects what my lunch is going to be, what my dinner is going to be. So, as I say, this is one of the positives I feel like I've taken out of this not ideal situation, but really, yeah, focus basically on the positive. Listeners might not know I'm a cancer survivor. I had chemotherapy, stem cell transplant about 15 years ago, and I did the same out of that. Took the positives out of it, changed my life, and listen. Get me on a bad day, and you'll hear all the negatives. Today is a positive day, so we're only
I have
focusing
done.
on the
I have
positives.
certainly done, mate. I know it well. I'm like, she's, I don't know where this guy's been for a while.
But thank you so much to everyone who sent messages, everyone who's commented on my Strava, everyone who's DM'd on Instagram. I really am blown away by this community and the support we have, and the fact that people care. It's mind blowing, and I promise you, we do not take it for granted. We really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, it has been good. People have been super good about it, and we really appreciate them. And as always, like we won't do too much of a more of this dialogue here because it's not what people tuned in for, or maybe it is to some degree, but it's certainly not our normal programming. But we do appreciate everybody. We do still want you all to share the podcast widely if you can. That is helpful to us. Certainly commenting, and again, as I said last week, the more public, the more helpful it is. But we'll happily take them in private as well. And then certainly rating the podcast. We certainly have seen an uptick in those things. So thank you to those people who are doing that. But I would say that of anything, like if I've been thinking about this a bit, it's certainly maybe 2 years ago, something I went through, and I've been thinking about it more recently is like, if you're enjoying someone's content, let them know. Like give them a like, give it like
Mm,
subscribe, certainly rate the podcast and stuff. Like I went through a period where I was listening to a bunch of podcasts, hadn't ever rated a podcast. I was like, oh, why am I not doing this? If I'm listening to every podcast this person puts out, I should probably rate it and give them a 5. Like that's everyone. So like, let's go.
yeah.
So I would just say that to people. I mean, it's not a big thing for you, but you'd be surprised how impactful it is.
One thing we do want to thank listeners too is for the support of our partners, particularly Precision Fuel and Hydration. We had a back and forth with them yesterday, and we really are blown away by the numbers we saw from last year. So thank you once again to the support. Good news is we've got a brand new code for you. So if you'd like to get a 15% discount off your first or next purchase of Precision Fuel and Hydration, that code is better 2026. We also have a direct link in the show notes below. Before we move on, what's happening with you? Give me an update, man. I haven't been here for
Well,
ages.
I was going to say, firstly, it's 2 years on the podcast. Like
What?
it's exactly, yeah, it's 2 years on the podcast, mate. We've been talking
Not
about this.
possible.
So
No ways.
yeah, well, yeah, I mean,
How?
you haven't aged a day. Um, yeah, so just thanks to everybody who's been part of the 2 year journey. I mean, Precision have been there since day one, and really appreciate them. And it's not that we don't appreciate other sponsors or new listeners or anything like that. It's just it's pretty cool to have somebody like people who've been along for the whole journey 2 years later, and onwards and upwards, and we'll keep growing and keep doing this. And yeah, just wanted to make that known. But in terms of me, mate, largely the same. I was in Oz for 3-ish weeks, almost 3 weeks. Travel's not easy, but it is what it is. It was, nice to get down there and get some sun. I was down there for a wedding. It was lovely. I got to go out to where I started my first ever trail run. So it took took TGJ, who's one of the listeners, took him out there for a trail run on some of the trails I used to run back in medical school. It was awesome. And then, how's this, man? I went to a coffee shop that I used to go to in medical school, and it's gotten way bigger. It was really cool. Like now, I used to spend a lot of time there studying, and the owner was there, and I was like, "Hey, man," and I was like, "Hey, Mark, good to see you." And he's like, "Oh, good to see you, man." And I was like, "You probably don't remember." He's like, "No, I remember you." It's like, "Oh, that's wild." It's been, it was probably 2014 last time I saw him. So like 10 years, and he remembered me. So it was really cool.
Oh.
But
I also
yeah,
heard that you went to you caught up with old school friends there after a very, very long time, and some of them actually listened to the pod, which is wild.
Yeah, I mean, so TGJ is one of them, and he listens. I knew that, but it was more the other guys that listen. Like, it's in his realm of interest, but some of the other boys are like, "Yeah, I listen to the pod," and I was like, "Oh, that's cool." A couple of them sent you well wishes as well, so that was a bit disappointing. I thought they were better blokes than that, but uh, that's all good. But no, it's cool. It's always strange to hear who listens to whatever you're doing, right? So yeah, when you're on these podcasts, you sort of feel like you're talking to just you and I, and then all of a sudden someone's like, "Oh no, I'm a big fan," and you're like, "Oh, it's really strange." So we appreciate everybody who listens, whether we know them or not, and yeah, it is flattering. So thank you to everybody who's doing that. But man, I'm going pretty well. There's been this. There's a local cafe here called the Clubhouse, and it's been doing a long run, sort of group run in preparation for London Marathon. I've been going along to quite a few of those, which has been good. Gets me out the door, makes it a lot easier. Running up to 16Ks pretty mindlessly, which is nice in comparison to having to do that solo, which would be quite a mental task. So it's something I've been reflecting on recently. Is like I hear people complaining about training solo a lot, and like fair enough, it's not easy. Um, I'm now needing to sort of get running with people to try and help motivate me. But then I'm reflecting back on like I trained for a good probably 10 years plus solo grinding, horrible weather, let's go, like
Oh,
whatever, big
wow.
marathon sessions. I'd go and run 3 by 10K, 1K float between. I'd end up doing 38Ks, like multiple hours all by myself. No, like, and never questioned. It was never a thought of like, I wonder if someone would come along. Like, I wonder if I could get a hand. It's like, nah, pretty much
How do you do those
over.
long runs, those 30K weekend runs on your own? How?
I didn't have an option, mate. Like, who was going to run with me? So it's like, you either want to do it or you don't. And I reckon it's so helpful on race day because you're never worried. Like, oh no, there's no group. I do this every Sunday. Here we are. We're just like punting around Richmond Park or whatever. So, um, yeah, it's so interesting to me how much I did by myself and how I sort of got through that all. But yeah, that is what it is.
Tell me about your run this morning. I saw
Oh,
something on
yeah.
Strava about the wrong
Oh,
watch
mate.
setting.
Mate, I've been having a shocker. In the last 24 hours with you, I've made 3 or 4 little errors, like little mistakes. Like, oh no, I sent you that thing. And it's like I hadn't sent it to you, or like, oh, I added you to that call. Like I hadn't done that. And this morning again, I'm like, I'm rushing a little bit to get the treadmill done before we record. Get on the treadmill, all good. Like get going, start running, and my watch is like the distance isn't going up, and usually it goes up pretty well. What's going on here? Like I don't understand. Anyway, finish the run, and then I realized I'd set it for an outdoor run, and I'm running on the treadmill indoors. So anyway, still got all my power data from Stride, which was nice, and still got all those metrics, which is really good. What I really should be doing, certainly, I need to go to a track and calibrate the strides. You probably don't need to, but I'm enough of a data freak that I want to. And then you can use Stride for your distance measure. Instead of using GPS, you can use Stride, which is a bit more accurate in terms of how far you've actually covered because it's using your leg movement rather than a GPS satellite which can ping either side of the line you're running. So like imagine you're running down lane 5 of a GPS track of a track, and let's say that extends for a kilometer, right? Let's in that sort of lane 5, you could ping either side of that, right? It could ping into lane 3, it could ping into lane 7, it could ping into lane because just a little bit of error in the GPS as you go down the track, and then that could add up distance, right? So whereas this is about how your feet move. So anyway, I should probably do that and use that feature from Stride, but I'm yet to do it. Like the local track, I got to pay to get on it. Like I'm so allergic to paying to get onto an athletics track. I just why do we have
Yeah.
to pay anyway?
Yeah,
I'm not
those
going to get it.
those things should be for the community, man. They should be community times. Encourage running.
I agree, man. I agree. There was one right near me in Amsterdam that was so good. It was free. There was a like sort of calisthenics set up next to it. It was so good. But anyway, thank you to Stride for their support of the podcast, and do follow the link in the show notes. Go check Stride out. They are running power meters. I do use them for every run, and we're gonna get you some, mate, as you get back into running. We're gonna get you a set and have a look at this because I'm actually interested, given your set, like given your context and the unilateral pain you had because you had pain down one leg. I'm really interested to see and try and even this stuff up as much as we can.
Yeah, let's see. I'm slowly easing back into things. Priorities physio, move on to more strength stuff for the bio in time, and then transfer that to cycling and then eventually running. But I want to crawl before I can walk, and then walk before I can run. Let's see how that goes.
I heard your priority is actually doing something at home for a change.
What are you referring to?
Some of the housework, helping Wendy at all, something like this.
That is the downside about recovering now. I can't use the operation as an excuse anymore to, oh, I'm in pain. Can you give me some popcorn, please? Oh, I'm in pain. Can you make me that smoothie, please? Oh, I'm lying down here. Man, if you think man flu is bad, imagine spinal fusion. So
Oh
thoughts and
man.
prayers to her. Community shout outs. Let's get through. We've got a banger of an episode to get through. Our 2 year anniversary. We've got some really interesting stuff to talk about. But before we do, some community shout outs. Judy Tater ran the Napa Marathon in 4:44. Said it was hilly and could have told you. David could have probably told you that. Have
Yeah,
you
well,
done that
it's a
before?
no, it's a wine region. Wine is
Yeah,
grown
yeah,
in
of
the hills.
course.
It's always
Of
gonna
course.
be it's always gonna be hilly. Like that's
Yeah.
what happens in wine regions. It's hilly. That's how they grow the grapes. So yeah, it was always going to be hilly. But congratulations, Judy. That's a great run. Also, Scott Minto ran the North Lincolnshire Half Marathon. He said he was good for 15 Ks and his legs died, but he ran 87:46. So that's pretty impressive nonetheless. So great work there. And then we had a comment last week after I said, please, comment publicly. S. Evans. Obliged, thankfully, and said, another great pod, David. Still by far my favourite weekly dose of sporting knowledge and news. Looking forward to the return of Xylon for the cheeky banter and cutting edge sound effects when you mentioned the newsletter. I really missed the paper rustling today. Très bien, merci. I tried to put that in and I could not make it. Could not get it in there, unfortunately. But we do have the sound effects, so let's see how they go and see if we can insert them more live this time. We also had a question here from Mark Morris, mate. You want to read that out?
Sure, I'll try to read, see if I can read. He says, in training for a road marathon, how much training should be on the road versus off road? Off road meaning grass or trail? It's an interesting question.
Yeah, I think it's a really good question. I could have answered to him privately, but I decided we'd answer it on the pod. So, I guess firstly and foremost, you need to make a delineation between possible and optimal. Right? Is it possible to run a road marathon having run 0 kilometers on the road this year? Absolutely. Is it optimal? Probably not, right? We sort of touched on this a little bit last week with Petter Engdahl. You do need to do a little bit of time on the road, I think, partially for performance, but partially also for just like finishing as well. Because, the risk of something like cramping is increased if it's a surface change for you, a significant surface change. Or if you're used to running a lot of hills and it's a flat marathon, you might end up with, that neuromuscular repetition may be a bit of a challenge, right? It's actually why I think Petter will go better at Boston than he would at something flat like, a London or whatever, because he's not so used to that sort of repetitive stuff, although he does do a ton on the track and certainly will be doing a bunch in preparation. But all that said, all running is better than not running. It's the first thing to think here, and all training is better than not training. So it's really important to remember that, and you need to prioritize the stuff that you enjoy and feel better doing for the most part, because that's what's going to help you to be consistent. And like performance is built on consistency, so all of that is context, right? The background context for how you might make this decision. But if we want to start talking about optimal, then you need to spend some time on the road. There's no question to run a road marathon because you need to condition the legs to that road. But it also is going to help you decide on a race day shoe because they're going to feel different on different surfaces. The same shoe on grass, track, trail, treadmill, different type of treadmill will feel different. So you need to be used to that, and you need to get your muscles ready for that and be conditioned for it. So ideally, I think if you're going to do this, optimally, you'd build up to as many sessions as possible in a week, really. But you need to maintain your volume. So that might mean you need to spend some time on the trail, right? But you could do anything from all of your running, which is certainly some of what I've done, partially through just the reality of what was living in Amsterdam. But I think if you're saying what's the minimum or close to minimum for optimal performance, I'd say all of your fast running, so your 2 to 3 sessions a week, plus your long run, which may end up being part of your sessions, right? So you might end up doing two a week. And when you start doing this will depend on your history and context, but broadly, probably for your full marathon block. So that might be 8 to 16 weeks prior to the marathon. But again, that'll depend on your situation. But that's kind of how I think about it. Breaking it down is like when we think about performance, even optimal performance, like training volume is sort of one of the key metrics and consistency. And then we layer in the specifics from there. And that will then boil down to things like paces and training surfaces and all that stuff, shoes, etc.
It's interesting. My wife Wendy, she entered the Otter Trail Run, which is a very popular trail run on the Garden Route, 42K off road along the coast, crossing rivers, that kind of thing. And she was chatting to a friend who's done it, who said to her the other day, like, some of your runs should be no runs, they should be hikes. You should just go hike and you should walk stairs often. And I guess
Yeah,
that
yeah,
speaks
yeah.
to the specificity of what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same with UTMB, right? There's a ton of uphill hiking. Like, why, if you only run in preparation for that, you're going to be like caught out because there's an efficiency. Like, efficiency isn't just about running; it's about running uphill versus downhill and flat. Like, those efficiencies are different. What about hiking, etc., etc.? So yeah, there's certainly an aspect of that. But I mean, when I've run marathons training predominantly on trail, particularly for long runs, so it's certainly possible. But yeah, I think optimal is a different discussion always.
Let's have a look at some quick bits before we get into some deeper lying debates. The first one is Louis Hincliffe. He's back in the NCAA despite turning pro for Essex. I was Googling the story after you mentioned it. He's a sprinter, right, who competed in the Summer Olympics.
Yeah, so he competed in. He won a bronze in the 4x1 for Great Britain in Paris. So he turned pro just before the Olympics. He'd done very well at the University of Houston. He was the 2024 NCAA 100 meter champion. And so he turned pro with Essex, all good. Then he ran the Olympics. Then he got some injuries, stress fracture, hamstring issue that disrupted his 2025 season. So he wanted to return to his old coach, which is Carl Lewis. He's a
Oh,
pretty good
wow.
runner. I don't know if he's a good coach, but he's a pretty good runner. And then he only coaches at the college. So Louis had to go back to college, and the NCAA approved his contract as an NIL contract, which is wild.
Wow.
Um, and it's just a crazy precedent to set to think about because, historically, you couldn't take any money; you had to be amateur. Now you have a pro guy who's coming back. Like, what's to say someone doesn't go to the NFL, get drafted, then get cut, and decide, actually, I'm going back? Or he's in the NFL playing, and his contract isn't great, and he goes, actually, I'm going to go back, get more money
Yeah.
in college. So, one of these quarterbacks is coming out, ends up, third string, and goes, no, I'll just go back and take more money there. So, yeah,
It's opened up something new. It might be a new way for people who follow a path that doesn't necessarily pay off, like in the pro ranks, and then you go back, you get a, I don't know, college degree while earning a decent living. It is seem to be opening up a new that those NIL
well,
allowances that we've talked about for the last couple of years now.
Well, I mean, like most of them go to college and then leave early. So it's like
Mm.
it's not that they didn't go to college and they turned pro out of school and now they're going to college. That would be a different discussion to some degree. Although that option exists, right? Cooper Lukenhouse is a good example. He's pro already, so like he could skip college. So yeah, it's hard. Like it's hard to tell a young person anything. I've realized this, right? I was young and stubborn once, so I won't pass too much judgment. But it's I'm sure there are people who told Louis he shouldn't be turning pro, right?
Um,
So yeah.
by the way, I haven't been following the news that closely, but Keely Hodgkinson's name keeps coming up across my feeds. Her YouTube videos keep coming up. Like, what has she been doing?
Breaking world records, mate. Breaking
Okay,
impressive
that's
world
why.
records. So she was at the British indoor champs and broke the European 800 meter indoor record, and then went recently to a meet and then broke the 800 meter indoor world record, which is famously was set on the day she was born. Right, so it's as old as
Wow.
her back in 2002.
I wonder if she knew
So
that.
yeah, she did. She's talked about it extensively. Like it's
Because she was
fate and all
targeting it.
sorts of stuff. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's she ran 1:54.87 to break that, but then recently over the weekend she ran an indoor 400 and ran 51:49, which is an outright PB, which is quick as well, very quick. So she's obviously in good shape. Interestingly, I read that she's put on some muscle mass. She's put on weight in the form of muscle through strength training, which I think is really important for people to hear because this is obviously helping her perform, right? And I think there's this view that lighter is better, and it's absolute garbage. It can be, but it isn't always. So, what I found interesting, and this is something we certainly, I think we're DMing. I can't remember where this conversation was. I think you're part of it somewhere on social media. But if the 800 meters is the last event where a positive split is the optimal strategy. So we always
I
talk about
saw
negative
that.
splitting.
Yes, we were talking about it.
And
Interesting.
so if you look at Keely's lap times compared to, I can't remember this lady's, Yolanda Seplak. So that's who the previous holder was. So Keely ran in her laps, which are 200 meters, right? Because it's indoors. She ran 26:80, 29:21, 29:05, 29:81. So she's obviously much slower in that second half. Whereas Yolana ran 28:34, then 29 flat, 29:34, 29:14. So Yolana was a much more even. Keely went out really hard and then had to grit her teeth a little bit. So it's, yeah, I mean, you certainly, generally in the 800, you pace it this way as you go out a little bit hard, then you sort of grit your teeth through a bit and try and kick it home. So, it's an interesting record. It was a very long standing one. It's a pretty well renowned dirty record. People thought it was pretty dirty. So, and then similarly, the outdoor 800 meters is also pretty dirty. So she's got that in her sights as well. So impressive from her. I maintain she could be the first person to run a sub 4 minute mile if she wants to be. First
Yeah.
woman to run a sub 4 minute mile. I said this at the time when Faith tried to do it and she was on commentary.
Yes,
So
Keely was there. Yeah.
I'm
Um,
interested to
but
see if she
I
does that.
think she's a Nike athlete too, so
She
which is
is.
why she was
Yep.
there. So maybe Nike will take that up. I want to double click on something you said there. The 800 meter is the last event where a negative split is optimal, and
No, positive
you,
split.
a positive split.
Yeah.
So anything up to 800 meters, we would recommend positive splits.
I don't know recommending, but that looks to be like it's negative splits are optimal after that. Below that, positive splits seem to be okay in terms of, and it's to do with energy systems and all that sort of stuff, right? You can certainly positive split a 400 meters, although that's harder to do because the reality is you get a flying start, right? You got to remember the first 200 meters of a 400 meters or the first 100 meters of a 200. Like these things are, you go from a standing start, so you're probably not going to negatively. You probably are going to negatively split those, but you can certainly go out a lot harder in them and then grit your teeth and hang on, right? So same with the 400, and remembering as well, like that, the start, the impact of that is disproportionately large in shorter events, right? And the 400 is the last block start, right? And the 800 is the first standing start. So there's lots of complexity here, but suffice to say, given the time domain of the 800 meters, it doesn't need to be negatively split to run optimally in comparison to other ones.
Thanks. That's fascinating, man. I want your take on this. Johannes Klaebo wants to move to pro cycling. I want your take because let's first talk about who he is, what he does, and is this possible?
Well, you talk about who he is, mate, and what he does. So you can set up here. Do you know who he is?
He's a skier, isn't he? He's just taking part in the Winter Olympics. Norwegian
Yeah,
skier, so I'm
yeah,
assuming gigantic VO2 max just by,
yeah, yeah. By
assumption.
osmosis, and the flag on his chest. Yeah, no, cross country skier who do have the highest VO2 maxes on record. If your name's not Christian Blumenfeld, um, historically, lots of muscle mass being used, so they end up developing these things. He was a guy that you would have seen this video of him running uphill on skis. He ran a sub 4 minute mile uphill on skis, man. It was
Wow.
wild to see. So, um, the guy's obviously horrifically talented in this, and often these guys who are so dominant decide, yeah, I'm gonna try something else, right? He has an Uno X agreement slash contract already, and he's been doing a bunch of training with them apparently, and a bunch of testing with them. I'm told.
Uno
I
is a
saw that.
professional cycling team from Norway.
Correct, or Scandinavia, but yeah, it's. I was told that by someone from cycling actually, not from Olaf. I didn't realize that, but it's quite interesting. Like, listen, we have an episode, so one of our top 10 episodes, although all these pro athletes are knocking these things down, but it's called Determinants of Endurance Performance. It's from November 8th, 2024. So go check that out. I'll link it in the show notes as well. But it talks about what goes into performance of endurance, right? And there's these different factors. And he obviously has an enormous VO2 max, which is and an enormous training volume, which both of which will be helpful to him. Um, and we have somebody else coming on who's transition sports in a couple of weeks. So throw forward and subscribe here to hear another professional athlete who's moved sports. But he's probably going to make a good cyclist on a bike in the lab. Like, no doubt, if you put him in a lab and tested him on a trainer, I reckon his numbers would be ridiculous. Now, the question is that going to make him a good cyclist? Because those are not the same things, right? You have to race the races, right? So Primoz Roglic is probably the best example of this. He had a pretty much similar story, transition from cross country skiing, I think, from memory.
Yeah.
And Roglic just keeps falling and doesn't handle so well in a pack and does all those things. So, like, why do we think this guy would be different? He could have done a bunch more cycling and be a bit better in that respect, but those skill aspects are a huge part of it, right? And how we save energy in a peloton, how all those things, and just stress in a peloton and the lack of stress. So I'm not saying he can't do it, but I'd be surprised if he, I wouldn't be thinking he's going to win a Tour de France. The other question is like, what is success for him? Like, is just getting to ride in, in a classic, is that success, or is it that he has to be a domestique in a Grand Tour, or is it domestique in the Tour de France, or is it he needs to win a jersey? Like, what is success for him, and from his perspective and the team's perspective? Because I think people misunderstand this. It's like, I'm going to be a professional cyclist. Like, that might mean you're just working for other people. Like, oh, fair enough, right?
Yeah.
Versus I'm actually going to try and win races here, which would be different.
Yeah, let's follow this story. He'll probably be amazing at indoor racing on Zwift because there aren't as many variables. Your VO2 max and those kind of things play an important role. Then you remove the variables of energy saving, cornering, in a bunch, positioning, wind, etc. Let's keep an eye on this. I'm fascinated by stories like this. If he does indeed transition to cycling, let's see where his ceiling is. The Tokyo Marathon happened recently.
Yep, over the weekend.
I only know because the listener Graham Renard was in Tokyo and his Strava title said not the Tokyo Marathon, and I was like, "Oh, Tokyo Marathon must be happening." What
Yep.
happened there?
I mean, the race was run, people won it, etc. I mean, there's like, listen, it's hard to follow this for people who are on time zone because of Japanese broadcasts and all that sort of stuff. When you're off time zone, like, yeah, you don't even bother. I saw bits and pieces around this. I mean, in terms of like the results, and the men's, Tadesse Takili won it in 2:03:37. So he was about 15 seconds or so faster last year when he won it. But it was a sprint finish, which was great. He beat Jeffrey Toritich and then
We're
Alexander
seeing more and
Mutuso
more of this.
Munyao.
Is it my perception? Are we seeing more and more of this in
Nah,
marathons?
we're seeing more and more of it in marathons. I think it's a couple of things. I think one of the things is there's less Kipchoge about, right? And so, no, I'm serious. He used to just blow people's legs off, right? So, like,
Yeah.
you wouldn't see the sprint finish. So, when you remove outliers like him and Calvin Kipton, people tend to then, like, sort of sit together for a bit longer and then try and sprint away from each other. So, I think that's part of it. I think we probably got, I think the shoes even the field a little bit, or level the playing field a little bit and allow some more. And I also think marathons are more popular and there's more money involved, so people will come earlier. So I think that's part of it, right? Some of these guys may still have been on the track historically. So I think all of that's probably why we're seeing it. But I have been asking myself the same question, right? Is like, why are we seeing this? Like, this is really interesting. But I have noticed the same thing. I think in the last, probably let's call it last 2 years, it's probably been 5 or 6 of these. And given there's only or now 7 major marathons, world majors, plus an Olympics and world champs, like I think we're doing pretty well there. Like, those are pretty good numbers. So
I hope they
uh,
have their photo finish technology set up to work out who is actually the winner. I remember in an Ironman 70.3 a couple of years ago, I think it was Oceanside, where Lionel Sanders and was it Rudy Van Berg sprinting for the win, and they did not expect that, and they had to use like cell phone footage, people's cell phone footage on the finish line to work out who actually won.
we're going to talk about organizations messing up in a second, but that is an absolute mess, mate. But so Daniel Mateko came fourth, and then Mukhtar Idris came fifth. I said Tedeschi ran 2:03:37, so pretty good time. Then in the women's, this was interesting. Bridget Kosgei broke the record and ran the seventh fastest time of all time. She ran 2:14:29, which is fast. She beat Berkuin Valda and then Howie Facer, and then Satsumi Asefa Kadebi came fourth, and then Mugertu Alemu came fifth. All of those women under 2:19, which is very fast. But the point here, Kosgei broke the record. We talked about that already. She's still going to change her allegiance to Turkey. So for the Olympics in LA, which is super interesting because she, like I've certainly heard some discourse around this. People, variably happy about it. She's going to be 30. She's 32 years old now. She'll be, what does that make her? 34, 35 over there. And she can certainly keep running well. There's no question that at that age you can run a good marathon. But the question is she guaranteed a Kenyan spot on the team? And like, the answer is like probably not. We saw good people like Evans Chebet not get a run last year. Sorry, in the Olympics in Paris 2 years ago. So there's an aspect of like she gets to go to another Olympics. There's an aspect of like she's getting given a lot of money, no doubt. And certainly, like, I think it would be very, I think it'd be hypocritical of certainly of me, but certainly, but many other people as well to suggest that you shouldn't be considering options to live in multiple countries, or indeed the opportunity to sort of live somewhere else for work reasons or get paid more for work reasons. So it is a job, professional running. So yes, we do get funny about it because it's a national allegiance and we feel very patriotic about it. But yeah, I just think that I think people should consider, like, if they got offered a job in a different country, would they take it for more money, and what would they do? Especially if it was like, effectively working remotely, right? Because
Yeah,
she could
yeah,
still live in
yeah.
Kenya and do all that. So
That
yeah,
was going to be my questions. I wonder with these changing of allegiances, how if you actually have to live in that country. I'm
the
sure it's
countries make the rules, man. So
that's what I
generally,
was
what
about to
happens
say.
if you want to live in a country, generally you have to spend a time as a resident there, and then you apply for citizenship, and then you get a passport, right? That's like pretty much the standard rules. How long depends, and all those things, and what constitutes living in a country, right? Like how many weeks a year do you have to spend there? But a country can just give you a passport. Like, there's no
Yeah,
reason they
if they
can't do
want.
that. Right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
um, yeah, they would probably just give her a passport so that she gets to run there. She may never go to Turkey. She may never need to, but she may also have the option to go, which is also great. So,
yeah. I'm not judging it. This is for a lot of people in Kenya. It's absolutely life changing money, and it sets you up post your career where there might be limited options otherwise. So yeah, definitely
and
not
then
judging her.
similarly, if she stays there, like she spends that money in Kenya, so it's good for the Kenyan
Yeah.
economy.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. A lot of athletes, we're seeing more and more of that. We got a bunch of other stuff to get through still. The USA Half Marathon Champs happened in Atlanta. Shout out to our CMO, Spencer Lauderback, who alerted us to the mess
Yeah,
that
he
it
was he
was.
was he was early on this. It's blown up since then, but he was very early on this, and I was like, "What is going on here?" And he sent us a video and all sorts of stuff, but it was an absolute mess. Basically, the lead three women were out and pretty comfortable, but within sight of each other, right? So they could all sort of see each other. They got led off course by a police bike, a media bike, and the lead car. They all turned. The women followed them. They ran about a kilometer, then realized they were on the wrong spot, and then had to turn back and go. And they ended up finishing. Jess McLean was in the lead. She ended up finishing ninth. The others finished in the
Oh,
teens, like 11th or 12th or
oh,
whatever.
brutal. Oh,
So, I mean, that's brutal, but like, and it's horrible. And that would always be horrible. But there are significant implications from this. That was a selection trial. The US have trials, which means top three people go to Copenhagen to run the World Half Marathon
oh, so
Champs.
there are even more repercussions, not like
So,
just a standalone event. Oh,
correct. It's not, oh, yeah, you didn't win your local half marathon. Sorry, pal. And you're not making Team USA because, these women appealed, and justifiably so. And USATF is probably going to look at it or whatever. But, like, it's hard. Like, this is what happens when you have a standalone trial. This is the problem with having no wiggle room, is something like this happens, and that's unlucky. There's no exceptions. There's none of that. And maybe they do make an exception, but that is the downside, because lots of people say US system's the most fair. There's, you have a trial and whoever runs best runs best. It's like, until it isn't, right?
mm,
It's the fairest until it isn't the fairest. So, I mean, what makes this worse though, like, so the head of the race has come out and said, oh, took full responsibility, which is fine, except these women now haven't won the money. They haven't got to stand on the podium. They haven't won a national championship. And those things, the glory, the social media, all that stuff has costs associated with it. But so do the contracts. If you've won a national championship, you're worth more money. And there's
mm,
bonuses and incentives in there as well. One of these women might lose a contract because they didn't place when they actually should have placed. Like, it's the implications for this are like so many ripple implications of this down the road and down the line. And what makes it worse, again, shout out to Spencer for this. A year ago, in the marathon, which is on the same weekend, it was over 500 meters short because somebody misaligned a cone, right? And maybe that happened again because we know someone who ran there pretty fast, and maybe their cone maybe was short again, knowing him. But then in 2024, the Masters 5K, the top three runners were led off the course again by the lead motorcycle. All of these by the Atlanta Track Club. Like, what is you got to be better than that. Now, I've certainly seen this argument mounted that elite runners should know the course. And to a degree, I agree with that. But at the same time, thinking about it, if you're running and you're a mile from the finish, because that's how far this was, she was like, they're a mile from the finish, and the lead car turns, your role is like, follow that. Like, think about it from if you're running this race yourself and you're out, let's say you're strung out quite far, and the person in front of you turns left, are you going to run straight? Like, that's pretty. I don't know if I'd run straight if someone turns left. I'd be like, what's going on here? Unless there was
Yeah.
clear marking, right? So the marking just needs to be better. Yes, maybe you need to know the course, but at the same time, like, these women are not from Atlanta. They're not going to know. Like, it's a little bit hard. I was thinking back to like course side run, and it's like, do I actually know these courses? I know them broadly, but not well enough to know like, oh no, that's definitely not a turn there. I shouldn't be turning there, especially if there's a turn upcoming. So anyway, I feel so sorry for these women. It's horrible, and I'm probably not going to go race in Atlanta anytime soon. So
Not
yeah.
great. America's a very litigious country. Let's see if they sue or
Well,
something. I don't
it's
know.
actually a good point you brought up. I was thinking about this before. Like, I'd be tempted to take legal action if I was them. Like, this
Mm.
is because, and there's some stuff that's come out. We don't need to read it, but like the USATF has come out and said there were like breaches of all sorts of stuff. So, like, yeah, I'd be tempted. Like, loss of
Yeah.
earnings. Tell me
Yeah,
about that.
yeah, it's real. It's real, man. Let's move on to Molly Seidel. She won a golden ticket at the Canyons 100K. So, if I'm not mistaken, she was a road marathon runner who is now transitioning to trail ultras.
Yeah, so she won bronze at the Tokyo Olympics in the marathon. Has now moved up to the ultra. So we talked to Mario Frioli about her on the episode "Running Culture and the Running Booms." That was from the 2nd of January this year, and he made the point she's a great runner. She just needs to work on the ultra distance and staying healthy, and it's been borne out. So the golden ticket means that she gets to race at Western States now, right? So this is a golden ticket race to get an entry to Western States. This was an interesting race. So the course record holder was there, Jennifer Lichter. She hit the accelerator after halfway, and no one got near after that. So she won in 7:57, smashing her own course record, the first woman under 8 hours. The 50-mile world record holder was there, Anne Flower. She took second in 7:58, just 70 seconds back, which is pretty impressive. And then Tara Dower, who's the Javelina 100 course record holder, finished third in 8:11. So all of those women, those three, broke the previous course record, right?
Wow.
And two of them went under 8 hours for the first time, right?
Were the
So
cones short or something?
no, 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 no. I mean, that's pretty impressive because like the record is, obviously by this you presume like 8:12. So those records are broken by 15 minutes, which is pretty impressive. But Molly came fourth in 8:25, so 2 minutes or so ahead of Abby Hall, who won Western States last year. So super
Interesting.
impressive. But she gets a golden ticket, courtesy of the fact that Tara Dower already has, a golden ticket. So Molly gets it. She goes to Western States. So this is interesting because now she's in the Western States field, and that field is disgustingly stacked. Of course, the three women in front of her are there, but the top 10 and the woman behind her, Abby Hall, because she was number one last year, but the top 10 from the previous year get offered an entry for the next year, and every single one of them has accepted it. So the top 10 from last year, including Abby Hall, are there. These other four women are there. It's just going to be wild. There's going to be fireworks there. Previous guest of the podcast, Emily Horgood, came 10th last year, so she'll be in that field again. So it is going to be,
When is it? Do you
yeah.
know?
Oh, I don't. It's coming, but it's not super soon. I think it's like early summer, so maybe June, something like that.
Okay.
I need to
Okay.
check it. It's like it's within the realms of UTMB. It's like 2 to 3 months before UTMB, which is September. So somewhere in that realm. I need to check it up.
Okay. We'll keep an eye on that and cover it, no doubt. I was looking at this thing you sent you about the European Marathon Classics that's been launched. What is this?
So Western States is at the end of June this year. Sorry, just check that up while we were
Okay,
talking there.
thanks. Okay.
So I saw this. This came across. I think I just thought people would be interested in this because, like, we actually get some comments from people that they enjoy some of the marketing side of things and the business side of things, and how we double click on that. So I thought this was an interesting case. So basically, we have the World Marathon Majors, and like this was made up out of nowhere. Just to be clear, some of these marathons have got long history, but like that, the concept was made up by Abbott as a marketing tool, and is like it doesn't exist. Like they just made it up, you know.
Yeah.
Then we had the super halves. We talked about this, and I actually got a Copenhagen bib, and I'll finish my super halves journey. Finish my super halves passport this year in Copenhagen, and that's like similar half marathons. That's Valencia, Berlin, Prague, Lisbon,
Lisbon.
Copenhagen, and another one I can't remember, and Cardiff. Right, so those 6 halves, pretty good halves. Most of them pretty fast, well organized, pretty cool, right? And I think it's a cool way to do it as well. Now you have these European Marathon Classics. This was launched. So it's the 8 biggest marathons in Europe, apparently. I don't know how they judge biggest. But interestingly, one of the guys, I think his name's Hugh Brasher from memory, who's big at the London Marathon, is part of the organizing committee around this that got this going. And like that's wild to me. London is at the moment, London, you have less than 1 in 20 chance of getting pulled out of that ballot. Like, London doesn't need any more hype and more people trying to run London. Like, I don't get it, but whatever. Maybe he's trying to help his mates at the other marathons. So there's the 8 biggest marathons in Europe, including London, as I said. Then Rome, Vienna, Madrid, Copenhagen, Warsaw, Lisbon, Frankfurt. So to become a European marathon classic finisher and you get a medal, you have to complete 5 of the 8 of these. And historical completions count. And once you've completed 5, you get your medal. And there's no time limit on this. You can do this over a decade plus, whatever. So it's interesting to me. I mean, this is just gamification and like ticking things off as everyone does. I think some of these, looking at these marathons, I'm wondering if some of these are struggling to attract people from either overseas or even just like other parts of Europe. Like looking at them, I
Mm,
wonder if some of them are struggling a little bit in that respect. I certainly, wouldn't have considered running something like Warsaw, even the Lisbon Marathon. I ran the Lisbon half. I don't know if I'd be wanting to run the Lisbon Marathon. I probably wouldn't run Vienna. Like I'd consider Rome. Frankfurt's meant to be quick, but it's not a city I like, so I don't know if I'd go there. I'd run Copenhagen maybe, but so there's clearly like a bit of a like let's try and get these people in here. Which is quite interesting. I guess it's a good option for people who are in Europe who can't get into the World Marathon majors. But like interesting here, like Valencia's not on this. Valencia doesn't care. They're like, you know what?
they're doing well
Uh,
enough. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Like Valencia's not on it. Barcelona's not on it. Sevilla's not on it. They're like, listen, we're fast marathons. People are going to come here and run fast. We don't care. We don't need your. We don't need your medals. Just turn up and run fast. So there's a real like there seems to be a real polarization of this. Is like these Spanish marathons are like, no, 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 we're fast, we're good, don't worry about it. So I like it. I like it from them.
Let's see how it goes. It's like a sales funnel, really. It's what
It
Ironman
is.
does. It's keeping everyone in it's smart. It is smart because it incentivizes people in some ways. So yeah, wish them everything of the best.
Yep, agree.
I love The Athletic, and they did a poll recently where readers got to vote on the hardest coaching job is in world sport. And these results are fascinating. We have the top 10 here. Do you want to read them out, or do you want me to?
You read them out, mate.
So, the hardest job in world sports, according to The Athletic readers, number one is the English men's football team. That was voted at 15.7%. Number two is Manchester United. And I was actually listening to Ange Postecoglou, your compatriot from Australia, who was coaching Tottenham Hotspur until recently. And he was on Gary Neville's podcast saying the Manchester United head coach is the hardest job in football. So interesting to see this that high up. Number three was Real Madrid. Number four surprised me, New York Jets. They haven't done well for a long time, but I'd imagine still big team, big supporter base.
I mean, it's New York. New York sports fans are brutal. We'll talk about this in a second. Finish us off, and then we'll go from there.
Number five, Toronto Maple Leafs. I don't even know what sport that is, but I'm going to guess hockey if it's
Hockey, yeah,
Canada.
it's the hockey. It's
Uh,
NHL.
that is higher than the Brazil men's football team. Number seven, fascinating, Ferrari team principal in Formula One. Number eight, New York Yankees. And number nine, not surprised at all to see it on this list, India cricket. And the World Cup's going on at the moment. India is lucky to still be in it, even though they're the hosts. And then joint number nine with India cricket is Tottenham Hotspur Premier League team. They got 3.8% of the votes. This is a fascinating list to me.
Yeah, well, I mean, so the issue here is expectation. So famously, Magliozzi once said, "Happiness equals reality minus expectations."
That is so true.
When you think about that in these contexts, though, it's the thing. Like, how many? So we're going to have a football championship upcoming. What's going to happen? British are going to go, "It's coming home, mate. It's coming home. We're
Mm.
going to win this one," and they haven't won one in ages. So
Which is
when you
fascinating. Why are they almost entitled with it coming home when they haven't won a World Cup since like 1968 or something like that? It's not like you've
well, this
won the like five of the last 10, so you are expecting to win.
that's the problem, mate. This is all about expectation. This list really, in my mind, it kind of boils down into 3 clusters. The first one is a bad organization, right? Like it's just a terrible organization. The New York Jets is that one. They can't get it
Okay.
right. They've just been terrible for as long as I can remember. They're just horrific. right? So that makes it a bad job. You know what? That job is just a bad organization. Unfortunately, there's only
Yeah.
32 of those jobs, so people still take it.
Yeah. Tottenham's
Then
the
there's
same. I'd put them in that bucket at the moment too.
yeah, I can't speak to that too much. But then
They're
there's
about
a
to get
historic
relegated almost. Anyway.
yeah. Well, then there's a historically dominant but now struggling. That's Man United. You're
Mm.
so used to winning, we, you, me, we, whoever, so used to winning. Now we're struggling. This is a problem, right? So that
Easy,
that might,
easy. We're up to third in the Premier League now, man. Easy. We're in a title race, man. No, but I get
yeah,
what you're
yeah,
saying. Since Alex Ferguson left, it's been tough. It's been rough.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, maybe the Yankees are a bit of that as well, right? And then there's this: you should dominate every year. So this is kind of where Real Madrid sits. This is kind of where Toronto, like Brazil men's football team, Ferrari. These sort of like we're the best. We should be winning, right?
Legacy,
Like
legacy brands.
exactly, and we're like and historically been very good, and and we still have the talent and all that stuff. So
Mm.
that's kind of, and again, what that means in those three scenarios. One of them is just like we're bad and this sucks. The others are like this is about expectations, right? My hot take here is the All Blacks are going to join this list soon. I saw this morning they announced Dave Rennie as their new coach, which I think is great. Dave's a really good coach. Did really well with Australia. We're welcome. We gave him his some of his coaching thing. And the thing I like most about that appointment is they actually looked at someone who didn't stay in New Zealand and they had someone who moved around and learned a little bit about rugby. Because
Mm.
no offense
It's
to the Kiwis, but
evolved. The game has
yeah,
evolved.
exactly. No offense to the Kiwis, but also a little bit of offense. Like you don't own rugby and you don't know everything about rugby. There are other ways to do it, and experience overseas helps. Anyway, the point being, Dave will be good for this, but like the problem with the All Blacks is there's no good result. There's only appropriate results. If they lose to somebody, it's a tragedy. If
Mm.
they win, okay. It's
Expected.
like yeah, unless you put a cricket score on a tier one nation, they're not happy. Right? If they beat South
Mm.
Africa by 50 or 60 points, yeah, okay, they're happy. But other than that, it's just like, so it's really hard, right? It's a hard job because it's like you can only do appropriately. You can never do well. Right? In contrast to somewhere like, I don't know, take a pick of another team, right? Like where you can do well, right? So it's a lot of this is about expectations, and I find it to be difficult. Right? I mean, this is why you get paid. Like, listen, I'm not crying too much for many of these coaches. Many of these coaches here are getting paid the price of the GDP of a small country. So let's not cry too hard. But at the same time, like it is tough for them, and I do have a soft spot for coaches.
I'm so fascinated by us as football fans, and I do agree. This is heavily, heavily, heavily weighted towards expectation because we want that euphoria, we want those emotions, but nothing is guaranteed in life. Like these are some of the biggest sports franchises in the world. They have some of the biggest budgets in the world, and they can attract some of the best talent in the world, yet success still isn't guaranteed. And that's what fascinates me about high performance, man. And that's why when people dominate and when people do well for a long time, be humble at the top, but also be respectful and appreciative of what it takes to achieve that because it doesn't just get handed out in high performance sport.
Yeah, it's also what makes sport great is the jeopardy and the chaos and what
Mm,
and like the lack of predictability, right? Like I say this a lot. Like slot machines are addictive because the outcome is variable. If you won it every 10th roll, they wouldn't be addictive,
mm.
right? It's because you don't know when it's going to win, and when you win, it's great, right? And that's kind of sport.
Yeah, the T20 Cricket World Cup's going on at the moment, and this, despite India being the defending champions, this might be their I hope not, but their biggest achievement yet because they lost to Zimbabwe unexpectedly in the round robin games, and they were almost out. They had to win their remaining games, which they did so. Their last game to make it to the semi-finals was essentially a quarter-final because whoever won between them and the West Indies went through. West Indies set a record score, which means India had to chase a record breaking score to win the game, so made it hard for themselves again. They did, and they through to the semi-finals, now playing tomorrow. So if they make it to the finals and win as hosts, like I think is that jeopardy you talk about, that unpredictability of losing against Zimbabwe, where South Africa, contrastingly, have apart from a double super over game, have convincingly won every single game and has glided through to the semifinals, and it's been sort of smooth sailing. Two very different paths, yeah. But yeah, that's such an interesting list, man. I loved seeing this when you shared it. Should we get to the doctor's office? Now, someone who's been all over social media is Lindsey Vonn.
Yeah,
She had what did she have? ACL, and she still took part in the Winter Olympics.
correct.
I know you've got opinions on this.
This is why I didn't. This is why I didn't go into sports medicine. This sort of case where you have an adult who gets to choose, and you fundamentally disagree with it. Right?
Mm.
She's a consenting adult. She gets to choose it, and it's the Olympics. She gets to decide. Right? Fine. I would not have as a medical professional, and I don't know her context, so it's probably rude of me to say, but it's not going to be a good outcome. Like you need an ACL to ski. Now she had a brace and she had all sorts of stuff, but she also had bone bruising. She had meniscus damage, all of that prior to the game, prior to the games, right? So like, how well are you going to compete, et cetera, et cetera? Yeah, it's hard. That knee before the games has aged 30 years, let alone all the other injuries that she's had historically. But just that, where she's trashed her ACL, bone bruising, meniscus damage, it's probably aged her knee 30 years, is what I've heard from docs before. So
Is an ACL
anyway,
that bad, eh?
it's not so much the ACL, it's the meniscus, because the
Okay.
meniscus works kind of as a shock absorber, but kind of also does sort of allow the knee to bend. So as that meniscus is gone, you then end up with like cartilage on cartilage and then eventually bone on bone. So you end up with a lot more
Oof.
damage for a lot more of it. And we can repair an ACL. And the reason you have an ACL and it's important is to hold the knee stable. You can live without them. It's fine. You can't probably ski without them, but whatever. But the meniscus is irreparable for the most part. There's a couple of things, parts of it you can repair, but generally they take them out or they shave them down and this sort of thing. So it's not good for the knee. Now, by the time 30 years from now arrives, we'll probably have some crazy medical intervention that AI is going to come up with that, maybe that solves this. But that is the stat I heard many years ago, is that like, this sort of injury would age your knee 30 years. And again, if you're a 20-year-old, like, your knee's 50 years old, like fine, it's not that bad. But anyway, that's the prevailing point, and those things are not gospel; they're just a rough rule of thumb. But anyway, she then crashes, and I don't know if people saw this. She crashed, then got what they call a complex tibia fracture, which is, as it sounds, it's complex, but it's also like that means really multiple pieces. She also fractured her fibula head, so the fibula is the bone on the outside of the knee. There's this sort of main shin bone, and there's a little bone on the outside. So she fractured that as well. She fractured the tibial plateau. The tibial plateau is the top of the tibia. It's the bottom half of your knee, basically. So the knee is where the femur and the tibia sit like this, and it's the top. This is the tibial plateau. So again, that's not good for her knee long term, because restoring that joint surface to be in a way that doesn't create trauma is a problem. So that was bad enough, but then she got compartment syndrome, and this is why we're talking about this. So compartment syndrome basically is when you have bleeding and swelling and stuff in a closed compartment of muscle. You end up with increasing pressure in there, and eventually some of that muscle, if you don't release the pressure, the muscle dies, becomes necrotic, you can get infections. It's a medical emergency. So famously, what happens is these people are in pain, you give them pain meds, it doesn't get better. And so then you have to go in there and you open the leg up and you cut. Like, the way to think about muscles in these joint compartments is they're kind of like bays of hail. Oh, sorry.
Ales of
Bay,
Bay.
that's the one. No. Hay bales. Hay
Yes.
bales. Anyway, so you've got the muscle fibers, and then you have like something around them, like Hessian sacs, and then more and more sacs around these other sacs, right? It's kind of how you think about it. And this is a compartment around the outside that controls it. It keeps it all in there. And so that is fascia. And so it's the gristle. If you're eating meat and you're like, oh, there's a bit of gristle here, that is fascia. So you have to release that fascia so that pressure can be released there, basically. And it's a medical emergency. So she had that done, and she had what they call a fasciotomy. So you cut that open and release the pressure. Then you have to leave it open for a period of time and then close it up. So she ended up with all sorts of metal on the outside holding her bones steady while her legs were open. Just an absolute, like a horrific outcome. The poor thing. So I feel very sorry for her, and well wishes and all that. But yeah, not good.
Yeah, when I saw her announce that she was still going to take part in the Winter Olympics and people were celebrating it and saying believe, and Reese Witherspoon put up a post supporting her and all of that, and same as you, I don't have any context for a medical history. I'm not a medical doctor, but just I questioned whether it was the best decision. And then when I saw her crashing again and people celebrating her, saying, "We're with you," all of that. And I'm uh, like, are people cheering you on to like a detrimental situation that you're going to have to get yourself through? Like, I don't know if that's the best way to go about it. Anyway,
Yeah, it's hard to make sense of it, but again, like where it comes down to is like she's a consenting adult. I didn't have to support her decision, and I didn't have to be pro her competing. She get to make a
yeah.
decision, and she could have, for all I know, won a gold medal, and I'd have been
She's
wrong.
welcome. She's welcome to come on here and share her
We would
side of the
love to
story.
hear
We'd
from
love
her.
that. I got a clickbaity title the other day on a cycling website, which absolutely got me. Matthew Brenner, who is an upcoming cyclist, had a really good breakout season last year for Visma Lisa bike, has got his season off to winning ways again in Kern, Brussels, Kern over the weekend, one of the semi-classics in Belgium. And in Belgium, it's traditional on podium. You get handed a beer, you drink the beer. He did not drink the beer. He just sort of toasted it for the cameras and that. And this clickbait title it got me saying why he didn't drink the beer. And that's because he's got celiac disease. Talk to me about this. It's got to do with the absorption of nutrients in the intestines, right?
I mean, it can. So it's an autoimmune disease. It's the first thing to say. So that means that your body responds and breaks itself down, basically. So this stimulus, though, is gluten. So gluten is a protein in generally things like wheat, classically, right? And so basically, there's a lot of people who are at higher risk of this, including people with type 1 diabetes and then thyroid disease, Down syndrome, Turner syndrome, etc. So they have a genetic risk, a greater genetic risk. So this basically the way this manifests is with digestive issues. So classically like chronic diarrhea, abdominal pain, bloating, flatulence, nausea, vomiting, constipation, right? Basically gastrointestinal symptoms. Or indeed you can have nutrient malabsorption because you end up with this inflammation of the gut. You can then not properly absorb some of the nutrients. So it could be weight loss. It could also be iron deficiency anemia or B12 or folate deficiencies as well. But you can also get like chronic fatigue type symptoms. You can get skin rashes, joint pain, mouth sores, all sorts of stuff. And so interestingly, Lucy Charles Barkley found out late last year she had this.
Ah,
Um,
yes, I remember. Yeah.
yeah, so it can be a little bit less crazy than some of this might sound. Like some people have pretty violent reactions; it's pretty quick. But someone like Lucy probably didn't have horribly violent reactions, so like it would have been harder to pick. Particularly, I mean, she's also doing a ton of sport, so like it's surprising she could be at such a high level. So her reaction is probably we tend to think these things as binary. Like my gut here is that she probably wasn't quite as bad her reaction, but there's no treatment for this. So you have to just avoid all gluten because I mean the long term. Obviously, there's all these other risks, right? Vitamin, nutrient deficiencies, energy deficiencies, but like the long term risk is bowel cancer. So it is
Wow.
and so this is diagnosed via some blood tests and then usually some biopsies as well. So it's not a good thing, and but that's why he can't have a beer because it's got gluten in it. So
Yeah, he
you can get
basically said it would have been season over over for me, and the season's just begun if he had some of it.
yeah. I mean, they can give him a gluten free beer, but they're not going to do that because the Belgians, yeah, there's no yeah, that's not happening.
Well, he's technically in the doctor's office, but really he isn't. He avoided the beer, so there's nothing wrong with him. So he
Yeah,
avoided
yeah,
the
yeah.
doctor's office ultimately. Well done, Matthew. Before we get out of here, should we move on to Seen on Social? This is where we look at people giving advice on social media that isn't necessarily advice you should take.
Yeah, again, like this is about learning and that it's meant to be positive, not derogatory, and we don't call people out or anything like that. But so we sort of saw this guy was trying to run a 3 hour marathon, right? And he's like, I'm going to do this in 12 weeks or whatever. And he said, "Oh, I was on pace for 8 miles." I
I
was like,
hate
and
that.
then I wasn't. I was like, well, you weren't, mate. You
I've
just
got a
ran eight
friend who
miles.
does that. Yeah, yeah. I've got a friend. I ran Berlin Marathon. I was on track for my sub 3:30 until 35 Ks. No, you weren't. A marathon is 42 Ks.
Yeah, and I mean, 35 Ks is like it's not bad. The 8 miles, like that's like
Yeah,
a third of the way through. Like, come
yeah.
on, man. Like, that's not you're not on pay. Like, that's just you got it wrong, mate. Like, and this is I get it. This is the economy we live in. It's about attention. If you said, "Hey, I want to run 3:30," no one would have been interested, etc., etc., etc. I get it, and like whatever. But he said, I learned a lot from this. It's like you didn't, mate. You just didn't listen to people when they told you this is stupid, and now you've learned that. So yeah, like it. Yeah, it is what it is, mate. We're not gonna get into this. So certainly something Dan Jones talking. Sorry, not Dan Jones. Dan
And
Squires talked about.
Squires.
Yeah, we talked about this as well. So we're not going to go into it. This is an epidemic across social media. But anyway, mate, what are we watching this weekend? What are you going to watch this weekend?
I'm looking forward to this weekend because I'm back. I've been back at work for a little while now, and I can tell my body is still needing some downtime. So I need to be very careful with my time management. So this weekend, I am looking forward to some proper downtime. There's some football on, cricket on. I think it's the finals this week. I need to double check that. And I think Formula One's back. Formula One's Drive to Survive. It's not live sport, but Drive to Survive's new season's out on Netflix. I've watched one episode. Hopefully, catch the rest this weekend. And then same as you, probably. Hopefully, some Strada Bianchi and Six Nations rugby. I really enjoyed. Six Nations a couple of weeks ago. I watched the Ireland England game, and man, I got into it. It was so good. Like I don't traditionally watch rugby outside of the Springboks. Like it was so good.
Classic box supporter, mate. There's no other teams, just us, eh?
Yeah, bro.
But
Yeah, bro.
no, the Six Nations is good, mate. Like the nice thing with Six Nations is all the teams get up for it. Like Wales are terrible at the moment, and they all get up and beat people, and they have, right? So I think that's really important, and it's really cool to see that. So yeah, it's
Were they
a.
playing this weekend?
Oh, I can't remember the draw. I need to give me a second. I'll pull up the draw here. Because I didn't think it was a great weekend. I thought next weekend was a better weekend. So yeah, this weekend you got Ireland Wales, which will be a massacre. You'll then have Scotland France, which could be okay because I think Scotland are at home, and then you got Italy England. Now, I would love to see Italy beat England. I don't think a lot of the world rugby would love to see that as well. So, and Italy are
We've
playing good
got that thing
rugby.
with
So let's
England.
see.
England rugby team is the same thing the football too. Expectation because of what they have achieved and legacy. And they were
And
expecting, the crowd was expecting in that game I watched England to beat Ireland. But Ireland are like unbelievable at the moment.
well, Ireland are in a tough patch as well. So many people would have picked England, not just the crowd. So I spoke to some Irish boys on the weekend. They're like, "Yeah, I was surprised we won that." I was less surprised about it. But the other thing with England is they're the richest union by a lot, like a lot, and
Okay.
so there's those components as well that sort of are a bit more than just the normal football thing. But we talk about it all the time. The British media eat the young, so it's not good for
Yeah.
the rugby guys. But yeah, I'll be watching those, and I'm going to try and get an eye on Ironman New Zealand. KB starting his season there. Christian Blumenfeld.
Oh,
He's
I saw he
doing
was there in Strava. I was wondering if there was an Ironman.
Yeah, so he's doing the Ironman there, then he's going to the 70.3 in Geelong in like 2 weeks, and then he's going to go do Oceanside 70.3 a couple of weeks after that, or a week after that, and then he's going to do Texas Ironman. So he's doing like 4 races in like 6 or 8 weeks, 2 Ironmans, 2 70.3s. And then
Wow.
he signed up for Roth this year as well. So that was a big one that
Amazing.
Roth got him. So,
Yeah.
and then he's doing Kona and then the 70.3 World Champs as well, which are in Nice. So, yeah, big year for him.
I
But he's going
didn't
to have
know
this
that.
like
I'll check
kind
it out then.
of lull in the middle. So,
Awesome.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, man, let's get out of here. 2 years of the pod. So happy to be back. We don't share our numbers, listener numbers, and subscribers publicly, but what we can say is we have hit another milestone. So thank you so much. A big milestone. So thank you so much for everyone who subscribed, who's tuned in, who shares the pod. And it's just funny that that milestone aligns with 2 years on the pod as well at the same time. So great to see people are tuning in and enjoying, and hopefully we can give you more of what you like. So thank you so much. David, thanks so much again for the last few weeks, and thanks for today.
Thanks, mate. Talk to you soon.